Hi, and welcome back to The Art of Loving Well. My name is Wolfie, and in this show we are exploring some rich, relevant truth and wisdom and skills to help us love well. We all need that, because to love well is to live well, and to grow in loving well is the most important growth we can do. And the good book says that without love we are nothing. Now, we are zero. We take all that we do, the way we do it, we take all of that, multiply it by zero, and we get nothing. So we are committed to learning to love well. Now, at the moment, we're busy with a series called Date Talk, and this is specifically for single people, for those of you who are not married, and to help you do relationships better, because the journey of relationship is often exciting, right? But also difficult, challenging, confusing sometimes. So we're looking at some truth and wisdom to help us navigate this journey well. And I hope you'll get something out of this. Now, previously on Date Talk, we've done 2 sessions, and I hope you'll catch up with those if you missed them. The first one is this, that we all need help. So I hope you're here with this attitude, I need help, because all of us have got a story. We all need help, and I hope you're here with an attitude that says, I need help. Even if you're married, you know you need help. It's one thing to find your knight in shining armor or your beautiful princess, but to live happily ever after, that's a whole other story. We all need help. The second session we did was called I'll Have a Whole One, Please. And this was all about what can I do now to prepare me for future relationship. And what I can do is commit myself to what we call personal wholeness. Again, this will be hugely helpful for you to catch up with that. We move on now in this third session, and we're going to call this Understanding the Opposite Sex. Now, I know this could possibly, to some of you, you think this is an impossible task that I could ever. Have you noticed that the other is different? If you haven't, just get someone to check your pulse, and you just have to get your eyes. We are different. Someone once said that if men could just understand women a little bit better, it would go a long way to helping relationships. Now, ladies, you should have been like, yeah, okay. But I reckon if women would just understand men just a little bit better, that would go a long way to helping our relationship. Right, guys? Okay, so we are committed to learning to understand the opposite sex. Someone wrote a book called Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and that may not be true, but it often seems that way, doesn't it? We are different, and we need to understand differences, because differences can divide us, and they do divide us. And this journey, part of our relational journey, is learning to understand the other, because if we don't commit ourselves to being a learner, we will never make a good lover. So come with me on this Date Talk series, and we're just going to talk about understanding. But I thought I'd just share this little story with you. This is a question: are computers male or female? Because, when we think about differences, we got to sort of study things a little bit. So a language instructor was explaining to a class that French nouns, unlike the English counterparts, are grammatically designed as masculine or designated as masculine or feminine. Things like chalk or pencil, she described, would have a gender association, although in the English, these words were neutral. You understand? So puzzled, one student raised his hand and said, what gender then is a computer? The teacher wasn't certain which it was, so she divided the class in 2, girls on one side, guys on the other side. And one group, the girls and both groups were asked to give 4 reasons why they would think the computer was male or female, okay? So the group of women concluded that computers should be referred to in the masculine gender because, so computers are male because, number 1, they are supposed to help you solve your problems, but half the time they are the problem. Number 2, a little risky, they have a lot of data, but they are still clueless. Number 3, in order to get their attention, you have to turn them on. Number 4, why is a computer male? As soon as you commit to one, you realize that if you've just waited a little bit longer, you could have had a better model. Then it was the men's chance. On the other hand, they decided that computers should definitely be designated as female, in the female gender, because number one, no one but their creator understands their internal logic. The native language they use to communicate with each other is incomprehensible to anybody else. Number three, even your smallest mistakes are stored in long-term memory for later retrieval. And the fourth reason why a computer should be designated as female is as soon as you make a commitment to one, you find yourself spending half your paycheck on accessories for it. It is a challenge for us to understand the opposite sex. Let's go to the manual. Again, we have asked, where do we get advice to help us on this journey? Where do we get advice to help our understanding? And we said that the best place to go to get the best advice to know how to get the most out of a product is to go to the manual. The manual being the mind of the manufacturer, written down so the user can use the product and get the most out of it. If you don't read the manual, you might destroy the product, you might misuse the product, you might, and you may just not be able to get the most out of it. And then you might throw it away because you think it's useless, but what you really just don't know is how to use it to its best effect. And I propose to you that the Bible is the manual, the mind instructing us how to get the most out of life and out of relationships. So when we try to understand these products, these male and females, let's go to the manual. So just 3 lines, and here we go back to where Jesus was asked a question about relationships, and he answers in Matthew chapter 19, and he answers just with this answer. I won't give you the context, but this is Jesus being asked about relationships, and then he says, have you not read, in the beginning God created them male and female in his image? And then he continues and he says, the two will become one flesh, right? And then he says, what God has joined together, let no one separate. So when we just quickly, just understanding this product, number one of this, it says that in the beginning he created them male and female. So he made them different. We are different. God made us different. We might say, why didn't he make us the same? Because we were created to be different. And in learning to draw close to one another, there's a mystery in that somehow reveals the mystery of how we draw close to him. Right? There's something in that, but we are different, so we need to understand one another. One of our greatest needs is the need to be understood. The second thing that we see there, that the two shall become one. Now that means, again, we were wired for relationship. The two that are different were wired to come into relationship, and they shall become one flesh. So that means that refers to our sexuality, and once again, our sexuality is not a negative thing. It's a positive thing. For single people, it reminds you that you were created for a relationship. Even if you want to hide because of your hurts and your stuff and the difficulties, you want to say, I don't want anything to do with this relationship thing. Your sexuality is always going to get you out from behind your walls where you're hiding, and just something's going to stir inside of you. You're just going to peep over and see and say, I've got to come out here again. So celebrate your sexuality. And we're going to talk more about that in the final of the series called Sex Talk. It's going to be hot and it's going to help you. So the two become one flesh. And then thirdly, it says, what God has joined together, let no one separate. So God is in the joining together business, but we tend to be separated. Now, there's a lot of stuff that can separate us in relationship. There is selfishness, there is lust, there's sin, there's ignorance, there is manipulation, there's control, all the stuff that we can put into a relationship, but to separate us relationally. Whether we're married, we know all the stuff that can come in there, whether we're singles pursuing a relationship. But here's the one thing that will separate us, is a lack of understanding. It is vital that we understand differences, and when we can understand, then we can bridge. Someone gave me some helpful advice once. They said, don't reject what you do not understand, because with understanding may come acceptance. Sometimes we are so easy and quick to reject what we don't understand. But actually understanding or differences enrich us, don't they? But only if we can understand them. Now, one day we will do a series on marriage in this Loving Well series, and we'll talk about what to do with differences, how we appreciate them and ultimately celebrate them. But that's for another session. Today we want to just look at this basic idea of this male, this female, and understanding the opposite sex. Now, of course, we have differences, but we also have stuff in common, don't we? I want to propose we have two things that every person has in common, male, female, everybody. The first one is a desire to belong. And the second one is a desire for significance. So belonging and significant. Belonging is this desire to be loved. I need to be able to say, I am loved. In order to live a fulfilled life, one thing I need is to be loved. And listen, it's easy to find someone to love. You know, look at a magazine, look at a movie. I love, okay? The real challenge is to find someone who will love you, and not just love the wonderful of you, but the good, the bad, and the ugly of you. And ultimately, our hearts yearn for unconditional love, love that loves me even though I am fully known. I am still fully loved. So I have that desire we all have in common to be loved, and secondly, to have significance, to be able to say, I matter. My life has a purpose. And I would propose to you, if any relationship you're in is not fulfilling those two needs that we have, then you should have either a crucial conversation about it or run from it. Because whoever you join yourself to needs to help you to know that you are loved, and they need to help you to affirm you that you have significance, that you matter. That ain't working, I'd say, check it out. Okay, so just those two. Now, when we look at differences, one of the great books that was written on differences is called Love Languages by a guy called Gary Chapman, really worth a read, the 5 love languages. And so this isn't a male and female difference, but this is just to help us understand that we are different. So he proposes that there are 5 different love languages. There's the language of gifts, receiving gifts. There's the language of acts of service. There's words of affirmation. There's quality time, and there's physical touch. So he proposes that there are these 5 love languages. And he says each of us have got a love tank, and the ones we have relationship with should understand what my love language is. If I have a relationship with someone, you understand what my love language is, and once you understand that, you fill my tank up with that love language. If you give me the wrong love language, my tank's going to stay empty. So one of the challenges is to understand the other, what their love language is, and then give them or speak that language to them. Now, this was hugely helpful for me in my relationship with my wife, Ali, because I love to serve. I'm not sure if that's my love language, but we tend to give to others what we want ourselves. If we don't bother to understand, we give to others what we want, what we would prefer to receive ourselves. So I would come home, say after a busy day, and Ellie had the kids, and I'd come home, and the first thing I'd do is wash the dishes, clean up. I'm helping Ellie, and I'm thinking as a man, I'm scoring points now. Men, you know what I'm talking about, okay? I'm scoring points. This is really, she's thinking he's awesome. But it just never used to work. Ellie was like always neutral, and I get frustrated because, listen, have I not helped you? Have I not served you? And but it would just kind of be neutral. And then I discovered the 5 love languages and realized that, well, Ellie's Ellie's love language is quality time. So me serving is good. I need to do the chores, of course, but I don't score any points with them. What I score points with is if I stop everything, I sit down, put on the kettle, and just give quality time attention. So you know what I did? I bought a dishwasher and drank a lot of coffee. But this is the point. Understanding the opposite sex and understanding the other is hugely important to help us in relationship. Now, the manual also says, when it describes this creation of God's, it says this creation, male and female version, comes in 3 components. It's called the spirit, soul, and body. Okay, so there's a mystery there, the spirit, soul, and body. The spirit part of us is that which relates to God. It's the God-conscious part, so it's that which is from which worship comes. Then the soul is typically defined as our will, our emotions, our minds, our thoughts, okay? So that's the soul, that's the me part. And then my body is this thing that hurts when I pinch it. All right, it's this tent, it's this thing that's in this world. So these three components, and it might be helpful just to think of those. Where are we different and where are we similar? Okay, let's start with the first one, the spirit. Now, the manual says when God made them male and female, it says he created them male and female in his image, and he breathed his spirit into them. So here's the point. When it comes to the spirit, male and female are exactly the same. The relationship that a man and a woman has with God is exactly the same. There's not man, woman, then animals. And by the way, the difference between a human and an animal is spirit. God breathed his spirit into the humankind, but not into the animal kingdom. So if you want evidence for what are we different? Is there spirit? Just look at the animal world, and there is nowhere in all of the animal world where you will see one thing. One thing's missing in the animal world. I mean, some animals can maybe speak and feel emotions and all that stuff, but the one thing that you won't find in the animal kingdom is worship. Nowhere. Maybe the praying mantis somewhere, but that's about it. But wherever you find humankind, you find an expression of worship. Smoke, bells, poles, whatever. Something, monuments, something that seems to look up. But I just want to say this. If you don't understand that the man and the woman is the same when it comes to relationship with God, when you interpret the rest of this Bible, you're going to make some serious mistakes in the positioning of men and women in the spiritual world and dynamic, and the church, by the way. So that's just for free, but I just want to encourage you. We are the same in spirit, the same breath breathed into man. Okay, let's move to the soul. Now, the soul's an interesting place. They're he motions, she motions, and they're all different. But I have a theory, and trust me, since I'm a pastor, this is truth, okay? When babies are born, male baby, female baby, they are exactly the same, except the one has a vagina and the other one has a penis. I mean, they cry the same, they look the same. You can't just look at the kid and say that's a woman, that's a male, that's a female. They're exactly the same except for the plumbing, okay? But then, just a few days after birth, something begins to happen. It's this chemical testosterone that begins to flow through the body only of the poor male baby. And what it does is this testosterone flows through the body, and it begins to attack the fibers that connect the brain. Your brain is two sides, and so this testosterone flows up and it begins to attack the fibers in the brain. And what begins to happen is these two sides of a male, only the poor male baby, these two sides begin to just disconnect a little bit. The other thing that it does, this testosterone, is it shrinks the right-hand side of the male brain. So what you have left after a while in the man is a disconnected brain with a shrunken right-hand side. Ladies, are you listening to me? Now, how's this significant? Well, this is where we get the idea of men are compartmental and women are global, okay? Men, they have two compartments, so they can separate things, okay? I can be having a bad day in my relationship, but a great day at work, and these two, I can keep them separate. A woman does not have the privilege of a disconnected brain. She's like a river. Everything flows together. One thing's wrong, everything's wrong. That's why women use words like everything and never much more than men do. Okay, by the way, when a woman says never and always, those are not fact words. Men, if you want to just hear me out, don't argue about, I did that once, or these are feeling words, not fact words. You've got to understand what is being felt. So there are consequences to this disconnected, shrunken brain. Okay, women have this amazing thing which men just don't understand, which is called intuition, because her brain's connected. So she comes to conclusions very quickly. Some information or observation comes in, it goes, and she's got something. I'm like, mine's like a disconnect. It's like an old-fashioned calculator, trying to work it out. I get to the same conclusion about 2 weeks later. I don't have the privilege of a connected brain. Now, the left side of the brain is more conquer-orientated as well. So men are typically more like, they want to get there, they want to overcome. Women, the right side is more relational. They get excited when do they get excited about in a game? When they know a name or the player. They're more nurturing and that sort of thing. So even in this mind thing, we are different. We deal with problems differently. Okay? When has a problem, he goes into his cave and hides, and he withdraws. Because why? Because he's conquer-oriented. He wants to fix it. I am Bob the Builder, and I will fix it. Okay? The woman, when she has a problem, she doesn't retreat in her cave. Where does she go? She goes onto the plaza and tells everybody about her problem. Now, here's the thing. When a man goes into his cave, the woman wants to follow him. No, not a good idea, because he turns into a big bear in there. He doesn't want you to, he wants to feel, I can fix it. I am the man. One of our great needs is to achieve as men. And of course, when the woman's sharing all her problem, the Bob the Builder thinks, I can fix her. And he comes, and she doesn't want to be fixed. She just wants to be heard. She wants to be understood. Right? So hold back. So you can see all of that playing together to, we have all sorts of other differences. We talk differently. We communicate differently, don't we? Men in headlines. Yep. How was your day? Great. These one words, they're like code for a lot of other emotions, So woman, of course, she has many, many words, more words than a man does. We shop differently, don't we? Okay, we're not going to go there today. But and listen, some of you are now thinking, Wolfie, you're generalizing way too much. I mean, I'm not like that. And I know some of you will be saying that. Well, I would say then I've made my point. Because my main point is simply to recognize we are different. We are different by nature. We are different by nurture. And the one thing we've got to be committed to is a commitment to understand the other. We are different in our soul. What about our body? And if you look at the body, of course, I hope you've noticed male and female bodies are different. God made a man pretty much like that. Then he had another go, making the woman. Second time around, he shaped her a little bit better. Okay, we are different. We are different. Men are typically stronger in body. Sexually, we are different too. Very important to understand that men and women are turned on sexually differently. Men are typically turned on by sight and suggestion. Women are turned on by atmosphere and words. And we need to understand that the way we act towards one another sends different messages. We might be sending messages that the way we interpret them, but it comes out all wrong. For instance, take an example. You're a guy, you have a math problem, and there's a girl, she's pretty smart because her brain's connected, and you want to ask her for some help. So you take her, you think, oh, where can I take her? I'm going to take her to a nice Italian restaurant where the lights are low, some Italian dudes singing, and we're just going to talk about our math problem. So you sit down, the candles are lit, and you talk about math problem. She helps you. But here's the deal. All your intention is to just get some math solution, but she's reading the signals not from she's reading romance, she's reading atmosphere, she's reading you're interested in her, and she gets the totally wrong message. Of course, if the girl wants math problem solved, she says, well, I'm going to take the dude to McDonald's. You think that'll solve the problem? But then she arrives at McDonald's, what? She's got her mini skirt on, sitting like this, legs showing, cleavage down here, midriff open. Can we talk about maths? The guy is not thinking maths. The message he's giving is, hey, I'm interested in you. I want you. Let's get together. So here's the thing. If we don't understand one another, if we don't understand the different signals we're giving to one another, we'll just destroy our relationships. We'll misinterpret. And listen here, if the only option you've got is a dimly lit Italian restaurant, then or maybe it is hot and you're wearing something a little less covering, what do you have to do? You have to counter with your mouth, with your words, that which everything else is suggesting. You have to give a stronger message, but the problem is guys often don't talk so much, so they don't know how to express themselves, so the atmosphere and everything else gives a much stronger message than their mouth. And we've got to learn that when our differences are going to divide us or going to cause us to misunderstand each other, we have got to talk it out. We've got to speak loudly. So I just want, this is a message. This session is all about understanding the differences. And I'll close with this idea. There are 3 things you can do to help you understand or to deal with these differences. 3 commitments I want to encourage you to make. First of all is this: be a learner. Okay? To be a learner means to say, I don't know it all. I need to learn something here. I want to be teachable. I don't want to just be stuck in the way I see things. I'm open to understand the other. So be a learner. Secondly, be a lover. Okay? Be a lover, not a luster. A luster is one who just wants to receive. A lover is one who gives. Love gives even at the expense of self. Lust takes even at the expense of the other. So make a commitment to be a learner, and make a commitment, secondly, to be a lover, and make a commitment to be a listener. Okay? Guys, I want to say to you, these 2 things on the sides of your ears are the best attributes you could have. When a woman finds a man who will listen to her, wow. Your ears are the hottest part of you guys. Okay? They will help you. So I encourage you, be a learner, be a lover, be a listener. And make a commitment. This is our Date Talk truth. I'm committing myself to understanding the other. I don't just want to think about myself and know myself. I want to know my other. And I'm going to be making a commitment to be a lover, a learner, and a listener. Next, in the next session of Date Talk, we're going to be looking at lessons from Lover's Lane. How not to do it. Have you ever done it wrong? Have you ever gone down a road and messed it up? You've ended up in a ditch or at least with a dent. Next session is going to help you to know what not to do. And after that, we'll look at what to do. So remember, to love well is to live well. Thanks for being with us today.